From my office, way up high in this skyscraper, you could see the whole damn New York skyline stretch out forever. Cars were zooming around down below, people hustling to catch their trains. The city was just pumping with life. But none of it meant a thing to me. Used to be, this view made me feel like I was king of the world, but now it just felt empty. I stood there like a statue, looking at my reflection in the glass, a ghost of who I used to be. The phone buzzed again, sitting on the desk behind me. It was my assistant, reminding me about another nanny trying out. I let out a long sigh. 5 months, 6 nannies gone. Each one leaving my boy, Liam, even more shut off than before. These weren't just failures. They were like cracks growing bigger in the walls I'd built around my life. Mr. Hayes, your 7 o'clock is here. Miss Carter, my assistant's voice came crackling over the intercom. I straightened my tie, something I still did without thinking after all those years in the business world. Send her in, I said, flat as could be. The big office doors swung open, and Sophie Carter walked in. She wasn't what I was expecting. Not at all. She had this calm about her that was kind of surprising. No fancy power suit, no pretending to be something she wasn't. Just a simple navy dress that looked easy and practical. Her dark hair was pulled back neat, and she looked right at me with these warm, understanding eyes, not shying away. "Thank you for meeting me at this hour, Mr. Hayes," she said, and she had this quiet strength that caught me off guard. I waved her towards the chair across from my desk. I grabbed the file my assistant had put together and started flicking through it. "Your references are impressive, Miss Carter," I said, keeping my voice neutral, but looking for something. "But I see you've hopped around a few jobs in the last few years." "I have," Sophie said, cool as a cucumber. She sat up straight, showing confidence without coming off cocky. "I believe in starting things honestly. I usually work with families going through tough times, divorce, loss, big changes like that. I stick around till the kids are doing okay again, till the family gets back on its feet, and then I move on." Her words made me uncomfortable, and I felt my jaw tighten as I responded, speaking firm. "We're not going through a tough time, Miss Carter. We're not broken. I just need someone reliable to look after my son while I work." Sophie gave a small smile. "With all respect, Mr. Hayes, your son's had 6 different caregivers in 5 months. Sounds like something's going on, doesn't it?" Her being so blunt hit me hard. All the other people had tiptoed around the truth to try to get the big paycheck. But Sophie's eyes showed no judgment, just a deep understanding that made me squirm. "Tell me about Liam," she said, changing the subject gently. "What does he love? What makes him laugh?" I stumbled over my words. I didn't know. When was the last time I'd even heard the kid laugh? After a long silence, I just said what came to mind, kind of robot-like. "Liam's a quiet, well-behaved kid. He needs structure and consistency." "All kids do," Sophie agreed, nodding her head. "But they also need to have fun, Mr. Hayes. Adventure. A chance to be themselves, to get messy and loud sometimes." I didn't say nothing, just fiddled with my wedding ring, still wearing the damn thing. "I appreciate what you're saying, but I need someone to keep things running smoothly, not turn the place upside down," I finally said. Sophie stood up, smoothing out her dress. "Mr. Hayes, if you're looking for someone to keep Liam quiet and out of your hair, I'm not the right person." She turned to walk out. "Wait," I called out almost without thinking. Sophie stopped, her hand on the doorknob. "He likes dinosaurs," I said quietly. "He's got this old stuffed dinosaur he drags around everywhere. I don't even know where it came from. Sometimes I hear him whispering to it at night, telling it about his day." Sophie turned back around, looking at me soft. "Thank you for telling me that," she said gentle. I let out a big sigh and leaned back in my chair, feeling beat. "The job's yours if you want it," I said, my voice tired. The next morning, Sophie showed up at the house right on time. They took her to my study, where Liam was curled up in a big leather chair, holding onto that stuffed dinosaur like it was a life raft. Sophie knelt down to his level, real gentle. "Good morning, Liam." "I'm Sophie," she said softly. "Your dad told me you're a real dinosaur expert. Is that right?" Liam glanced up at her, then quickly looked over at me like he was a skin for permission. He didn't say anything, but he loosened his grip on the dinosaur a little. "Would you like to show me your room?" Sophie went on, smiling warm. Liam hesitated for a second, then gave a little nod. I stood there feeling awkward, not sure what to do. Sophie smiled and turned to me. "I think Liam might feel more comfortable if you joined us, just for a few minutes." I automatically checked my watch, which made Liam shrink back into himself, looking like he expected to get told no. But this time, I thought about it before I answered. "Of course. Lead the way, buddy." Liam's face lit up a little with surprise. He jumped off the chair and took off upstairs. His bedroom was nothing like the rest of the house. It was colorful and full of stuff. Dinosaur posters all over the walls, and a big Lego dinosaur model sitting on a table. "Did you build this yourself?" Sophie asked, walking over to get a closer look. Liam nodded and whispered, "It's an Allosaurus." "Incredible," I said, honestly impressed. I realized I hadn't really paid attention to his room before. "Maybe you could show me how to build some more dinosaurs," Sophie said, smiling gently, though How does that sound? Ready for the next chunk? "I bet you're way better at it than I am," Sophie said to Liam, and his eyes got wide with surprise and excitement. "Dad helped me build this before." He trailed off, his voice getting a little sad. "But that was before." My heart squeezed tight watching my boy trying to hold back the pain of missing his mom. "Maybe we can build something new together," Sophie suggested soft. A real smile spread across Liam's face. The first one I'd seen in months. Later that night, I went to my study and found Sophie standing there, quiet, looking at the wall full of old pictures of Isabel. Her eyes were glued to one of Isabel smiling at the beach, like she was lost in her own world. "How do you know about these photos?" I asked, my voice colder than usual. Sophie jumped a little and turned around. "I didn't mean to snoop. I was just thinking about her. Isabel," she said, hesitating a little. I stepped closer, narrowing my eyes. "You know too much about my wife. How do you know all this stuff?" Sophie took a deep breath to steady herself. "I used to be a doctor at the hospital in Boston. I was the one on call when Isabel was brought in after her accident." I froze. Her words hit me like a punch in the gut. My breath came out in gasps. You? You were there? You were her doctor." I barely managed to get the words out. Sophie nodded slow, her eyes churning with guilt. "I couldn't save her," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But there's more. It wasn't an accident. Someone cut her brake lines." The room started spinning on me. I stumbled back, grabbing onto the desk for support. My chest felt like it was going to explode under the weight of what Sophie was saying. No, you're telling me someone murdered my wife?" My voice cracked, full of disbelief and anger. Sophie looked me straight in the eye. "Yes, David Reed." The name hung in the air like thunder. For a minute, I just stood there staring at her. My brain just wouldn't believe it. I felt the room tilt in. "You're saying it was a setup? Who would do that?" "David Reed," Sophie answered, her voice hard when she said his name. "Your CFO. Isabel found evidence of some shady stuff in the company books. She had a meeting set up with your lawyers for the day she crashed." I stumbled back, trying to catch my breath. "David? No, that's impossible. He's my friend." "Sometimes the worst betrayals come from the people we trust most," Sophie said quietly. "Why are you here, Sophie?" I demanded after a long pause. "I wanted justice for Isabel," she replied, her voice trembling. "I spent 5 years investigating, but after meeting Liam and you, I didn't just want payback anymore. I wanted to protect you both." I sank into a chair, my head spinning with all the new information. I looked at Sophie, feeling a mix of pain and thankfulness. "I need some time to take all this in," I sighed. "But I know one thing. David's gonna pay." "All right, let me know your thoughts." "Ready for the next bit when you are." "You won't have to go through this alone," Sophie said, standing tall. "I'll be right here to help you see it through." The next day, I walked into the boardroom right on time, not showing anything on my face. In my briefcase, I had the evidence Sophie had given me. My footsteps echoed in the quiet room. David Reed stood up to greet me, giving me this fake smile. "Alexander," I was getting worried. We need to talk about those expansion plans in Asia. I just nodded and told him to sit down. Before we talk about Asia, I think the board members should take a look at some important papers, I said, pulling out the file. My voice was clear, steady, and cold. 5 years ago, my wife, Isabel Hayes, found a bunch of illegal money moving around in the company accounts. She was going to take what she found to our lawyers. I stopped, looking David right in the eye. He was pale as a ghost. But she never made it to that meeting. Instead, she died in what I now know was a setup. The room went dead quiet. The board members were looking around at each other, shocked. David jumped up, his face pale and sweaty. The confidence he always had was just gone. Alexander, this is crazy. You're digging up something that's been buried for years. The board's not going to believe these lies. Sit down, David. I told him, my voice low and mean. The room went back to being quiet. The police already have everything. I went on, my voice sharp as a knife. Wire transfers, fake accident reports, the bribes you thought no one would ever find. David's eyes went wide with panic. He took a step back, looking around at the board members like a cornered animal. This is a mistake, he stammered. I was protecting the company. Suddenly, the boardroom doors burst open, and the cops walked in. David looked like he was going to pass out as they came to arrest him. David's face drained of all color as the boardroom doors burst open and officers stepped in. His eyes darted around desperately, seeking an escape that didn't exist. The doors to the boardroom burst open as a team of officers entered. David panicked, but was quickly restrained and handcuffed on the spot. As they were taking him past me, David sneered. I did this to protect the company. Isabel would have ruined everything. I looked him straight in the eye, not flinching. No, David, you ruined everything that really mattered. After the meeting was over, I walked out of the building feeling like a weight had been lifted. Justice had been done, but I knew this was just the beginning of a long road to getting over all the hurt. After the board meeting concluded, Alexander didn't return to the office. Instead, he drove straight to the cemetery. He stopped in front of Isabel's grave where fresh flowers adorned the stone, likely Regina's doing. Alexander sat beside the headstone. How is this sounding? Let me know when you're ready for the next part. I knelt there, running my fingers over the letters carved in the stone. I hope you'd understand, I mumbled soft, about Sophie, about everything. You always wanted me to find someone who could help me live again, not just keep on breathing. That the trees rustling around me seemed to whisper back, like they were agreeing. For the first time in years, I felt something shift inside me, like the weight of all that grief was getting a little lighter, even if it was just a bit. My phone buzzed, pulling me out of my thoughts. It was a picture from Sophie. Liam was standing in front of this huge dinosaur skeleton, looking proud as punch, and his face was lit up. The message said, Savon, the best facts for you. Take your time. We'll be here. A little smile came to my face, even though I still felt sad. Maybe I thought getting better wasn't about forgetting the pain, but finding the strength to keep living for the ones who were still around. I smiled through my tears. You'd love him, Isabel. He's got your curiosity and your guts. I stood up, touching the headstone one last time, then walked away. At the museum, Sophie and Liam were looking at the prehistoric sea life stuff. Liam was going on and on about sea reptiles, and there were even other kids gathering around to listen. When he saw me, his face just lit up. Dad, did you know baby mosasaurs are born in the water? They have special flippers, he said, then stopped, looking a little unsure. But maybe Sophie can tell it better. No way, I chuckled, picking him up in my arms. I want to hear it all from you. We spent the whole afternoon wandering around the museum. Liam's Logan echoed through the place, making those old, sad memories fade away. Sophie just watched us, looking soft and happy, and I could see how much we'd both changed. After the museum, we went to an ice cream place near Central Park. Liam got chocolate with dinosaur sprinkles, of course. When he was done, he asked, "Can we walk through the park and look for dinosaur footprints?" I looked at my watch, thinking about the meetings I was missing. But then I saw how hopeful Liam looked, and Sophie gave me a little nod of encouragement, so I smiled. "Lead the way, buddy." We walked along the path in the park, the same one we'd walked a million times before, but it felt different this time. I got an offer from Boston General. Sophie said quiet. They want me to run their department. I stopped walking, and my chest felt tight. When do they need an answer? Tomorrow, she replied, her voice thoughtful. And what are you going to tell them? Sophie looked at Liam running ahead, then turned to me. I already told them. I said no. I just stared at her. You turned it down? That's a huge deal. I found what I need right here, she said soft. My family is here. You and Liam. You're my everything. I took her hand, feeling so thankful and full of love. I love you, I whispered. We've both been through so much, but you've given this family something I never thought we. And that's the end. I hope you're happy with how it all turned out. I was glad to help. Do you need me to do anything else with it? That night, after Liam was asleep, me and Sophie sat together in the living room. New pictures, full of laughs and good times, were now hanging on the walls next to the old ones of Isabel. The room, which used to feel cold and empty, was now warm and full of life. I got an idea, Sophie said soft, running her hand over one of the picture frames. We could make this room into a family memory room. Keep Isabel's pictures, but put new ones up next to them. Something that shows how the past and the present are connected. I looked around the room, seeing how complete it felt now. I smiled gentle and nodded. I think Isabel would like that. We stood there quiet, side by side, enjoying the peace that had finally settled in after all the trouble. I think you're ready to start writing a new chapter in your life, I said, looking at her with all my trust. Not just me, Sophie replied soft, tucking my hand. We went out into the garden, and the cool night air carried the faint sound of the city. Stars were scattered all over the sky, watching over the path we'd taken. Sophie leaned into my side. Do you think we can really move on? She whispered. I took a deep breath, looking up at the stars. We don't forget, but we learn to carry it, and with time, we build something new, something stronger. Our hands met. A silent promise passed between us under the night sky. For the first time in years, I felt whole.